Hello, everyone, and welcome to 100 Yards of Football Sports Talk Radio. I'm going to be your host this evening, Logan Landers. And today we got a very special topic. We're keeping it in the A, in the hometown where we broadcast live out of Atlanta, Georgia. We're going to be talking about the Atlanta Falcons coaching staff breakdown. And what better way to do it than with two guys who know the Falcons inside and out? First off, the guy who's always on the show helping us out, Roll Tide Nation, coaching extraordinaire, as we like to call him, Coach Kevin the Bull Jones. How you doing, Kev?
Great, Logan. How you doing?
Can't complain. And also the man to my left, left. You might have heard his voice in Atlanta, the silky smooth airwaves of 92.9 The Game. He's also done some work with ESPN3 I saw the other night. Chris Goforth. How you doing tonight, Chris?
Doing good, guys. Glad to be with you.
Always a pleasure to have you guys on. Well, hey, before we get started here, guys, if you guys enjoyed this video watching us live right now on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We've been doing some great numbers on YouTube, and we appreciate all the love. Also, be sure to check out our podcast brought to you by the Believe Podcast Network, who've been helping us out tremendously over the last few months, and we've been gracious to them. Wherever you want to listen to podcasts, whether it be Apple, Spotify, Speaker, anywhere you like it, we got it. So be sure to check us out over there. Well, all right, fellas, let's get on to the nitty-gritty. The Falcons had a heck of a coaching turnover this season so far. And let's start with the head of the table, Coach Arthur Smith. Kev, I'll let you get things going there. What are your thoughts on Coach Smith, and how do you think he can help turn around the Falcons?
Well, I tell you what, Logan, here's some things that real quickly I want to mention about Arthur Smith, because you have to pull back some layers here, because he's a veteran NFL guy. And the thing that I really like about him, that at first I didn't know, but I had to do my homework about this a little bit, is that he's been on various levels of coaching or dealing with scouting or something in regards to the NFL that gives him a little different flavor for most guys that come into the league and come in as a head coach. You know, he was at the Titans, and yes, everybody thinks because of where he came from, because they had Derrick Henry, that all of a sudden we're going to be a ground and pound team and play action, and you know, we're going to change some things up, and maybe we're not going to air it out as much. But when I look at his body of work, it's impressive in that he's been on both sides of the ball coaching. And you know me as former head coach and now as a current defensive coordinator, it is important that the head guy has some type of dialogue that flows well as far as his knowledge base of both sides of the football. And if you look through his whole lineage of work, he's been on both sides of the ball as well, you know, either as an offensive analyst, a defensive analyst. So what that means, guys, and you know this just as well, Chris, he's been in the room with both sides of the ball, and he can talk football from both angles. So it is intriguing. I'm starting to feel really good about it, because I see some things. He's been involved in pro scouting, things of that nature. So we've got a guy who's checked the boxes on quite a few things, and I think it's pretty good for the Atlanta Falcons.
Mr. Goforth, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what Coach is saying there. I think coming from, you know, kind of his background and what all he's done in the past. Look, from the people that I have talked to, certainly folks in Nashville, I can tell you they were quite disappointed to see him leave the Titans. I mean, not just inside that building, but the fan base was as well. But certainly the people that you talked to inside the Titans organization, they didn't want to see this guy go. I have yet to run into anybody that has anything bad to say about Arthur Smith, which is pretty remarkable when you consider where he comes from and who his father is. You know, he probably could have taken some nice cushy job somewhere in finance when he got out of college, but instead he went into coaching and he started at the bottom level and he's worked his way up. So, he sounds like, and from what I have been told, Harry Douglas, who's my counterpart there on 92.9, Harry knows Arthur. He was on the staff there with the Titans when Harry was a player, and Harry just raves about him. He absolutely loves him, and so again, I haven't ran into anybody yet that has a negative. So we hope that, he's got the right guys around him. I really felt like when this hire was made that he needed to put the right people around him. And I think he's doing that. Getting Dean Pease as his defensive coordinator, I think, was a huge step.
Yeah, you brought it up right there. Great transition, Chris. We're going to be talking about Dean Pease next. And like you said about Arthur, just my thoughts on him, to go forward. Everyone thought going into this head coaching hire, the Falcons, there were a few thoughts thinking they were going to keep Morris. That didn't pan out. There's always the Eric Bieniemy thoughts that it seemed like every team was going to go after him. That still hasn't came out to fruition. So they got a good one in Arthur Smith. I like his play style. He did a great job with the Titans. And I'm going to be interested to see, keeping a close eye on him with the Falcons. But let's get into Dean Pease. So, Coach Jones, this is your neck of the woods, man. You love the defensive side of the ball. What's your thoughts on Dean?
Well, listen, I have a little personal revelation. I used to, back when they were up in Maryland, and there was a kids camp that would go on before the Ravens would come in. And when the veteran guys would come in, I'd get a chance to sneak a peek and just chop it up with some of those coaches as I was leaving the kids camp, and the NFL guys were coming in, the Ravens coming in. And let me tell you something. I'm a disciple of the 3-4 defense. I just think that in the league right now, because of the multitude of formations, it allows you to be extremely successful. He's been with Belichick and he's been with the Ravens. He has been around. He's even been with Coach Saban. So he's been with the gurus of how this defense works. The thing that I like about it the most is he has had awesome players do awesome things in his defense. And for 2 years, they've led the NFL in interceptions. 1 year was 22 interceptions. The next year was 18. So this is what I see. I see a veteran guy who's won these Super Bowls as coordinators of 2 different squads, that he has a lineage of when there's preparing for sudden change, guys. He doesn't crack. He doesn't lose his cool because he's been in those battles before. And the nurturing of the 3-4 defense, that is my thing, guys, with the Falcons. I want them to be able to have an identity of who they are. And when they show who they are, be the best at who you are. If you're a man coverage team, if you're a zone blitz team, whatever you do well, make sure that you work it the whole time. And that's the big deal for me. So with Coach Pease coming on, I'm excited. I wish I could do a backflip, guys, but those days don't work for me anymore. I'm probably close to the ground for that. But I think that him taking over, just as you mentioned, Chris, this is the ideal veteran coach to have on your staff. So when you have those wow moments in the game, you have a guy who's been in those trenches and can deal with those battles. And for me and the Falcons, I just feel like the problems that they had mostly last year were not as – it is truly accountability of being the best that you can be each play. And I realize that, working camps and being around Coach Saban, there's a true accountability deal, and I think we got the right man. I think he's a great choice, and I give Coach Smith a thumbs up on that guy.
Yeah,
I like the fact that I'm sorry, Lana, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just saying I like the hire a lot. The Falcons need a good bit of help on the defensive side of the ball, and I think this guy's going to help them out. Your thoughts, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, look, I like the fact that as a first-year head coach, he went out and got a guy that's got a little bit of gray hair. He went out and got a guy that's been through this before. And look, how long is Dean Pease going to stay? Probably not long. I think you're lucky maybe if you can get 2 to 3 years out of him, and then he's going to go. But if he can develop this defense and maybe more importantly, maybe develop a defensive coordinator under him, somebody that can step into that role when he leaves, I think that's really good, as well as kind of being that mentor and a guy that Arthur Smith can go to and kind of break some things, bounce some ideas off of. I think that's huge. There's a couple things about Dean Pease that I think is important. Number one, guys love to play for him. Again, everybody that you talk to that played for him with either the Ravens or the Titans will rave about how good this guy is. He just makes people better. And I think, you start looking at some of the guys the Falcons we know will be back on this defense. Guys like a Grady Jarrett, like a Foye Oluokun, like a Deion Jones, a Michael Walker, and A.J. Terrell. If he can make those guys better, then he can make this Falcons defense formidable maybe pretty quick. The other thing, and we've all talked about this, and we've all ranted and raved about it around here for, at least for the last, I don't know, since John Abraham retired, ever how long that's been, has been about the fact the Falcons haven't been able to generate very much of a pass rush. His 2 seasons with the Titans, they generated 39 and 43 quarterback sacks those 2 years. Falcons haven't been anywhere close to those numbers in a while. So if he can bring some of that, the ability to dial up pressure to affect the quarterback, I think it's just going to be huge for this Falcons defense. There's question marks at every level, but I think you got a guy in Dean Pease in terms of a play caller and a schemer. I think he is elite.
Yeah, heck
Awesome.
yeah. That's a great breakdown, Chris. I do think that this is going to tremendously help out their defense, kind of a sore spot for them for a while. But we'll have to see. It's all about the talent of the players, see how they can do in that system. So
Logan and Chris, if I might also add, there's something about the 3-4 defense. And Chris, you being around the team and seeing some of the ouches and the preparing for sudden change and things that happen, the continuity of knowing what you're supposed to be doing each and every play, and have a point A and a plan A and a plan B in a scheme is truly what the 3-4 elates to. It allows you that you can bring pressure, you can zone blitz. Seattle played man coverage. They played a lot of off man. Everybody thought it was cover 3, but it was off man stuff. And the key part about it is, if you take a safety, our safety that the Falcons have, those safeties that we have, one of those guys can play in the box and you can create some havoc. The Steelers did it for so many years, with Troy Polamalu. Just bringing that pressure, robbing the middle of the field. There are so many levels to it. Everybody says 4-2-5 defense. But when you really look at the successful teams and what they do, and just as you mentioned, Chris, the pressure that they bring, here's the funny part about it. You know what's coming. You just don't know where it's coming from.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, good point, Kev. And like I said, the Falcons, that's always been kind of their Achilles heel, is that defense. The offense, they've always had a weapon or two, but the defense is where they've always struggled, especially in the secondary. That's how it's always been. Their corners and safeties have always been getting nagged on and beat up the last couple of seasons. And I think that Dean is going to help them out tremendously, and I hope he can get at least a little bit better in the defensive side of the ball, because if the Falcons can get a good defense, they can make a good playoff run, I think, because they got all the offensive weapons. And speaking of offense, they got a new offensive coordinator as well. They got a guy coming over from the South Side with Dave Rigoni. So, hey, Coach Kev, what's your thoughts on this guy?
Well, I tell you what, he's also had some time serving as a QB coach with the Titans. The thing that I like about him is he's been a very good, steady developer with Mitchell Trubisky, as well as Kirk Cousins. And he's had some time with Jay Gruden, who has been considered a very good offensive-minded guy. So I believe that he has a chance to propel us to it. Listen, we got a veteran quarterback. We got veteran guys out there catching the ball. And I agree with you. We got a good offense. We need more help on the offensive line, some more steady depth. But we got some good players. So we just need for us to be able to have a great blend of run and pass. And I like some of the things that happened over with the Titans, not with the Titans, but rather with the Bears and Mitchell Trubisky. He threw for 3,000 yards 2 consecutive years, in spite of some of the peaks and valleys he had as a starting quarterback in the NFL. I think he's going to do well.
All right, Chris, what's your thoughts on the new OC for the Falcons?
Well, I want to take this from a couple of different vantage points here. One, let's start with this. What's his actual job going to be, especially on game day? Because Arthur Smith's already said he's going to call his own plays. So you've got Arthur Smith calling plays, but Rigoni is going to be the offensive coordinator. You've got Charles London who's the quarterback's coach, and they just hired T.J. Yates to be the passing game. I think it's passing game specialist is the title they've given T.J. Yates. That seems like a whole lot of hands in the offensive pie when it comes to trying to scheme a passing game. We'll see how all this stuff plays out. To me, this was kind of an underwhelming hire a little bit. Having watched the Bears play some the last couple of years, I thought they were fairly atrocious when it came to throwing the football. Now this guy's going to inherit an offense that was terrible in the red zone. They've got to fix that. The run game is terrible. You're letting your veteran quarterback now get hit way too many times, and you're way too reliant on Young Wei Koo, who is your kicker. So there's a mess with this offense that's going to have to be figured out. You don't know how much longer you're going to have Julio Jones. We saw Julio this year kind of have that hamstring injury that really nagged him over the course of the year. He wasn't the same Julio, but at the same time, Falcons offense isn't the same either when Julio Jones isn't out there. So look, I don't know. I'm going to take a wait and see approach how all of this works out with the Falcons offense. I still like Matt Ryan. I realize that may put me in the minority with some Falcon fans, but I think Matt Ryan is still a guy that can get it done, but he's got to have people around him. Number one, you've got to be able to keep him upright, and you got to give him a little bit of a running game. And he didn't have that this year. I mean, they just couldn't run the ball at all, and they were bad in the red zone. And I think a lot of that was due to scheme and play calling. So all of that has to get better. How much of that is going to fall on Arthur Smith? How much of that is going to fall on Rigoni? I don't know that we really know right now what it's exactly going to look like. It's not going to look like the Titans because Derrick Henry ain't there. So I think the only running back they've got under contract right now is Ito Smith. So that running back room for the Falcons is going to look way different whenever, hopefully we get a preseason this year, whenever preseason starts or, whenever the kickoff to the 2021 season gets here. Running back position is going to be much, much different than what it was or what it has been.
Now, Chris, it's funny you mentioned that because that leads me to, from the coaching standpoint, I can exactly tell you what's going to happen. It's reminiscent of Dan Reeves and the Mike Shanahan days and John Elway. There is a buffer. There's going to be a buffer coach between Arthur Smith, who's going to call the plays, and what Matt Ryan likes, what he feels comfortable with, and at what point in time where some things are not working, who does Matt get to talk to and say, well, hey, listen, I really don't like that play. I don't feel comfortable with it, and I need you to know that. Well, that conversation goes back to it's going to be Rigoni, or it's going to be Charles London. It's probably going to be Rigoni or somebody, T.J. Yates, if it's a pass play. Somebody says, hey, listen, Matt feels more comfortable with this play instead of that play. And I just know, and you hit it right on the head. You got a lot of people in that offensive production room, we call it. You got a lot of people. Somebody's got to draw the plays up. Somebody's got to chart the plays. Somebody's got to do the hit and misses, what we do well on the left side, what we do well on the right side. And Coach Blank is going to make the call. However, somebody has to be the ear to say, hey, listen, this ain't working for me, and I need to be able to do X, Y, and Z. So you really hit it right on the nose. And I'm just hoping, because Matt Ryan still, I'm in the minority with you, because I think that Matt Ryan can still spin it. And I think that Julio and Ridley and Cage and those guys in our tight end play, we got it. We just got to keep Matt up. We got to keep him up, because that's not his deal. He can't. He's not doing Lamar Jackson on Sundays at 1 o'clock scrambling. So I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be a miracle if we ever saw Matt Ryan turn into a scrambling quarterback, I tell you what. But yeah, I'm with you guys. I've enjoyed watching Matt Ryan throughout his tenure with the Falcons. I do think that he still needs to be leading this team for however much longer he keeps playing for. I understand there's that nice appeal of getting a Justin Fields or of getting, a younger quarterback to take over in the future. that's fine and everything, but they got some good weapons right now with him and Julio. Like you said, the running back room didn't really work out. The Todd Gurley experiment for the 1-year deal, that didn't go out to fruition at all. So they do need a little bit of help. They've always had a little bit of trouble at running back. They had the Michael Turner years a couple of years ago, and that was, it was good for the first half, and then towards the end it got a little bit worse. And so they've been trying to find an identity for their running backs for a while now. But what I do like about the Arthur Smith hire, I do get that he was under a different system completely with King Henry and all the guys over there in Tennessee. But his red zone efficiency is what really stood out to me. 75% touchdown completion in the red zone for his team last year, which is mind-boggling. Because the Falcons, it seemed like you said, Chris, they'd always have to get on Koof or go down there for a nice chip shot field goal. But they need to get some points up on the board, I think. And if they can get a solid running back, and if they can keep Matt Ryan up and healthy and not get sacked, I think that this team could be dangerous. I really do. The Falcons have a good bit of offensive firepower with Julio, who is one of the best receivers in the game. He gets doubled every single time he runs a route, it seems like. But they have a lot of talent over there, and I think that this new staff so far, they're going to turn a new leaf. They're going to help the Falcons get a better record, and I'm going to look forward to it. So, what do you guys? Do you have any other coordinators that you'd like to talk about that you think might help this team out in the future?
Coach,
I definitely would like to. Yeah, I want to talk about. I want to think about Dwayne Ledford, the offensive line coach. He was a fascinating offensive coordinator. I remember him when he was at Appalachian State, because I had a player, Coach Ledford recruited one of my players out of Lovejoy High School, Nathaniel Norwood, to play there at Appalachian State. And in watching those games and the balance they had and what they did, they were able to use the whole field. And then I watched them at Louisville, because now I have a current player there that was early enrollee this December of last year, and to get of 2019, that is. But to watch when Ledford was in charge of that running game and passing game with Louisville, I think that was pretty special. And I'm a proponent of whatever you're going to decide what you're going to be. And I agree with Chris on this. We're not going to see the Derrick Henry show per se, but can we commit to, are we going to be a downhill running team? Are we going to be a outside zone running team? Are we going to be a formation team? Or are we going to be a motion team? Whichever one that we're going to be. And this attributes back to the talk about the running backs, because we got to find out which one we're going to be. And I'm glad that Coach Ledford is here, because that, once again, that offensive room has a lot of firepower in it as far as knowledge of the game and being able to ascertain what do we have that works here, and what are we going to draft to help identify what we're going to be. Are we ground and pound? Are we quick to Julio? Are we deep to Julio? Are we motioning Julio? Are we running downhill? I think those questions, and when those boxes get checked, I think that's really important, and that attributes as well to what the Falcons are going to do about the draft, because at this particular time, there's a lot of talk. Me personally, I'd love to see Patrick Surtain here. But if you go with a quarterback, you're saying you're sitting something in the oven, waiting for it to get ready. But you got a lot of experience on this staff. But we still got Matt Ryan. So offensive line, and Chris, let me know what you think, because both of you guys, because I think this is going to be the most pivotal part of the offense. Not much as the running back. I'm sorry. I think that what happens in the trenches, Alex Mack, is he going to be back? Is he going to be healthy? And our left tackle situation, how healthy is Matthews? He's got mileage. So are we ground and pound, or are we sideline zone? I think that's pretty important. And Coach Ledford has a big deal on his hands.
Yeah, he's another guy that I've always heard good things about him. I thought he did a good job at Appalachian State coaching that offensive line. I thought he did a good job at Louisville as far as that goes. His number one job from day one, I think, is Matt Hennessey. Somebody's got to make a decision now on Matt Hennessey, who was the Falcons took last year from Temple. And I think everybody thought that he would be the heir apparent to Alex Mack at center. And I think most people thought he would win that job at left guard last year. Didn't happen. Now, he came in and replaced Alex Mack late in the year when Mack had some, I guess it was a concussion situation that kept him out for the final 2 games. And Matt Hennessey came in and played center, and he looked like a rookie. That is the job, I think, number one for Dwayne Ledford is you've got to determine is, A, if this guy, can you get him ready to be the every down center in the National Football League? And if you can't, then we're going to have to figure something else out. But I think that's goal number one is going to be Hennessey, and then to continue to develop those 2 guys on the right side in Caleb McGarry and Chris Lindstrom, who I think have started to show some promise and maybe take the next step that they need in terms of their development as pros. Falcons are going to still have to figure out. I think they're still going to be that you're going to have to figure out. Coach, you mentioned Jake Matthews. You're right. He's getting up there. Maybe is it, again, I don't know. Maybe could Matthews slide in and play guard and you end up trying to get another tackle? I don't know. I think anything at this point is, I wouldn't take anything off the table right now as far as that goes with the Falcons. But I do believe that goal number one, job number one for Coach Ledford when he is able to get his hands on him is getting Matt Hennessey ready to take over that center position. I think Alex Mack, I think he just retires. I don't see him coming back another year. I'll be shocked if he comes back and plays another year.
Wow.
Yeah. We'll have to
he's got a lot of mileage. He's
right. Yeah.
He served well.
Yeah.
Well, he's one of the best that's ever done it. There's no doubt.
That's right.
Yeah, Coach.
Another one that I like, Logan, is probably Frank Bush, the linebacker coach. And one thing I like, and I've had the privilege of hearing him speak in a lot of places, a lot of conventions and clinics. And I'm telling you something, this guy knows his stuff, and he's really at the top of the food chain when it talks about linebackers. And here's the special caveat about him that I got a chance to witness. I remember back when he was with the Broncos, and he didn't just do the linebacker work. He did he did some slash secondary stuff as well too, and those nickel guys. But his ability to get those guys to sometimes some of those backers that are more athletic than others, not as big but smaller, have them be able to do some things in coverage. That is really astounding. And he also had the ability to take Mark Barron, and Mark Barron had changed him from safety to linebacker his latter part of his years. And when you get a linebacker coach that can think in and out the box to be able to make his position people of more value to the defense, we've already got 2 good linebackers in there right now for the Falcons. I will tell you right now, bar none, they are right at the top of the food chain. And we just brought in a really good linebacker coach. I can't wait to see how this thing rolls off.
Yeah, you're right, Coach. He steps into what I think may be the most talented position group on the team. Certainly when you look at it as a whole on that defensive side of the ball, when you talk about Dion and Foye Oluokun and Michael Walker, those are 3 pretty good guys. And as you mentioned, there are 3 athletic guys that can all run. So I think how they fit in with whatever, I think Dean Pease is the defensive coordinator. He's going to play to that, and he'll play to that strength of those Falcon linebackers. One other guy, Marquise Williams, who's taken over as the Falcons special teams coach. They've got to find a returner. That's one. Falcons have felt like they haven't had a big play in the return game in forever. But here's the other thing that I like about Williams coming over and taking over as the special teams coach. He's got a defensive background. And I think what we will see is the Falcons special teams will, at the very least, they'll be good tacklers in 2021 under him. And that's, that's part of the battle.
Great point. That's a great point. Yes. We need that.
Yeah.
That stops a touchdown.
That's right. That's right.
Great point, Chris. Wow.
All right, guys, what are your final quick thoughts overall so far on the Atlanta Falcons coaching staff? Kevin, I'll go with you first.
Okay, I'll make this short and quick. I am an optimist. The glass is always half full for me, and I trust what the Falcon management has done, and Mr. Blank, Arthur Blank, that is, and what they put together. And I want to get a chance to give this a chance to watch this thing roll. Nothing against the previous staff, but hey, listen, Nick Saban, who I love and cherish.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't nothing about no brotherhood there. It's about being the best player you can be. And you can go ahead and take some folks out and dominate. I want those days back of the grit blitz with the Falcons. I miss those days. Okay, I miss those, and that's what I want back. So that's my final thought.
Chris?
Yeah, let's see what Terry Fontenot can give us in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be the other thing. I believe that his philosophy is you go best available. So is best available Justin Fields? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. We'll see how the draft board stacks up. But as far as where this coaching staff is, look, I like the Arthur Smith hire. I like where they are on the defensive side of the ball right now. I still think there's questions that are going to have to be answered on the offensive side. One, fix that red zone offense and fix the run game. Let's start with those things in the offensive line. And then I think things will start to fall into place. But overall, it's a new day. We might as well be optimistic about it. Let's give these guys a chance. I don't think it's going to be, look, this is a 2-year process, I think. I mean, I really think 2021 is going to be tough. I think 2022 is going to be tough. I think you're looking at 2023, and then you start to talk about this team possibly being a playoff team again. But I think it's going to take 2 years to get them there because he's going to need to put his system in place and get the right guys. And there's going to be some changes on that roster coming, a lot of changes.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with both of you gentlemen. I do think that this is a new day. It's a good culture change. The Dan Quinn era ended in a heck of a way, we'll say. Raheem Morris, he did a pretty good job rallying the troops that second half of the season. But it's a new day. They got basically a whole new staff, and there's a lot of optimism going on right now for the Falcons. Like you said, Chris, I'm with you. I think it will take about 2 to 3 years. And who knows, we might have a new quarterback by then. Julio Jones might be gone. But it's going to be really interesting to see just how these Falcons are going to perform under Coach Smith and all the other coordinators that he brought along with him. But I'm looking forward to see what these guys are going to do. And I just want us back in the Super Bowl, and I want us to win it this time. That 28-3 still hurts me every single day. And I want that to be avenged, hopefully in the next couple of years. I'm looking forward to it. So hopefully this is the staff we can do it with, fellas, and hopefully the Falcons can get some championships on their fingers. I'm looking forward to it. Well, hey guys, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. As always, thank you to Mr. Chris Goforth, as well as Kevin the Bull Jones, for coming on and lending your expertise, both in the coaching field as well as in the broadcast analyst field, about these Atlanta Falcons head coaches hire, as well as the rest of their staff. Hey, be sure to follow us on Facebook, on YouTube, also on Instagram. We upload clips every single week about all the shows we do. And also be sure, if you like to listen to podcasts, check us out over on Spotify. Or if you don't really like Spotify, you can always go over to Apple as well. Just type in 100 yards of football, and you'll see our logo there on the 50-yard line. You can listen to all of our previous episodes, our draft profiles, old legend interview our guy Bobby Butler does, former Atlanta Falcon, and all of our other great content we've got going on here at the show. I'm your host, Logan Landers, for this evening. You've been watching 100 Yards of Football Sports Talk Radio, and we'll be talking to you guys shortly. See y'all.